Leading off our discussion tonight, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna. He's a member of the House Oversight Committee, and he was in the room today when the Republicans barged in and tried to stop the deposition. Also joining us, Mika Owyang, former staff member of the House Intelligence Committee, who has been in that room many, many times, but has never seen anything like what happened there today. Also with us, Ned Price. He's a former CIA analyst and a former senior director and spokesperson for the National Security Council in the Obama administration. He is an MSNBC national security contributor. And Congressman Khanna, let me begin with you on what happened when they came in there trying to stop this deposition.
Well, it was a scene not in the United States Congress, but at a fraternity. I mean, you had about 20 Republicans come in. They were yelling. They were basically disrupting the entire proceedings. They brought in their phones into the SCIF, which everyone knows is against the law. And then they started ordering pizza, and there were pizza boxes strewn all over the SCIF. I mean, they didn't even clean up. I mean, it was really just an embarrassment. It's almost out of the Animal House movie.
And there's reporting tonight that Laura Cooper, in her deposition, talked about a lot of the technical aspects of delivering military aid to Ukraine through the Pentagon where she works, how that can be paused or stopped, or how funding for that can be blocked, and that the only real ways to do that legally is Congress can put a hold on the funding. But there was no description in the testimony of any legal way that funding was being held up.
And the reporting suggests that what happened here is that the president told people that unless Zelensky doesn't go on television and say that he's going to investigate Biden, that there's going to be a stalemate. And what has taken place is the military aid was withheld in a way that was a violation of the law. And it was clear to everyone involved that the only way that they were going to get that aid is not only if Zelensky investigated, but if Zelensky told the world that he was going to investigate Joe Biden.
And Mika, you issued a very educational flow of tweets today, and I hope we get your Twitter handle up there on the screen so people can follow you, because it was very instructive for me. I didn't know anything about what you were saying on Twitter today about the danger of bringing phones into that room and what they did by barging in the room that way.
Yeah, this is a very sensitive facility. The kind of information that they handle in this facility is everything from electronic surveillance all the way through to covert action. There's a wide range of things that happen. It's not just this testimony. So we know foreign adversaries are desperate to try and find out what happens in this room. This is a room specifically designed to keep out electronic eavesdropping, to try and prevent signals from leaking, to try and prevent our adversaries from knowing what goes on inside. One of the big ways that we get concerned about people trying to find out what's going on inside is by taking electronic devices like cell phones into the room, which can be compromised in ways that can be turned into listening devices. We also know that members of Congress are very high priority targets for our foreign adversaries because they're really interested in knowing what they're doing, what they're thinking, can they compromise them? And these are people who don't typically have very good security procedures. So they took these devices into this room, into this very secure facility, marching right past the armed guards and the cabinets that are set aside for people to lock their electronic devices in before they go into the room, and started, from what I understand, recording even while in the room. Now, the committee is still trying to conduct other business of its oversight of classified programs, and these are members wandering around recording inside the secure facility. It's stunning. The members of the committee are very concerned about maintaining the security of this facility, and I think we're likely appalled at what was happening.
Ned, I've never seen a weaker demonstration of an attempted defense of the president. You'd want to hear a defense of the president on the evidence, and not one of those people shouting in that room could find one piece of evidence to defend Donald Trump on today.
No, they sure couldn't. And I think when they can't defend him on the evidence, they go towards these just clownish tactics. Look, I think what we saw today, yes, it was clownish, but it was also startling in a number of ways. Mika just discussed the security implications, which aren't insignificant. If hypocrisy counted for anything these days, it should mean something that one of the congressmen who was captured on camera filming himself, filming the facility as he walked into the SCIF, just last year co-sponsored a House resolution calling for the appointment of a special counsel to investigate why it was that Hillary Clinton was not criminally charged for her handling of classified information. But to my mind, Lawrence, the most jarring element of all of this is really the fact that it's a microcosm of the larger scandal that we're witnessing around us. You have to remember, at the end of the day, why Donald Trump is in trouble is because he decided to betray his oath of office, to betray the American people, and to betray our national security by putting his own narrow political interests ahead of our national interests, putting his own narrow political interests ahead of our national security. And that's precisely what we saw today from these members of the House of Representatives. They subordinated our national security by walking into this SCIF, this secure facility, in order to score a cheap political point. I'm not even sure they scored those points, but they sure degraded our national security.
Congressman Khanna, I am much more struck by the 170 or so Republicans who refused to have anything to do with it, knowing that Donald Trump was watching and taking attendance at it. But it also is part of the lie. That demonstration was part of the lie Donald Trump is telling on Fox News. People like Matt Gaetz and others tell on Fox News that Republicans are being locked out of the room. In fact, you have Republican members of the committees in the rooms with you at all times. What was their reaction to their fellow Republicans invading their jobs there?
Well, Lawrence, first you make a very important point. Republicans are in that room. They get to ask questions. They get equal time as the Democrats. And by the way, in the whole Benghazi hearing, they had the same depositions in the SCIF that were not public. So it's the height of hypocrisy for Republicans to complain. But I'll tell you, I don't want to reveal the person's name, but I went up to one of the individuals and I said, "Oh, so were you there in the protest?" He said, "No, absolutely not. I follow the rules." So there are a lot of Republicans who don't want to be affiliated with those 23 members. And privately, you do have Republicans saying that some of the things are indefensible. Now, they may not be at the point of coming for impeachment, but they don't want to hang their reputations in the public defense of some things that are indefensible.
And Mika, that room does have Republican members of the committees in it. It has a lot of Republican staff members in it. They would be in a position to make public from that room, leak in any way they wanted to, any information coming in these depositions that is helpful to Donald Trump. And they have not found one piece of information in those depositions that they've wanted to in any way make public.
That's right. If there was exculpatory evidence for the president, they would be trumpeting that. They would be talking about it on the news. They would be saying, look, this is not really what you think, or see, this person said that it was, in fact, the right thing to do. But what we see over and over again, and they cannot deny, is that this was not the right thing to do, that it was not right to set up a secondary channel. It was not right to withhold the aid. It was not right to fire the ambassador to Ukraine. It was not right to demand a quid pro quo. It was not right to condition all of these things on the Ukrainians, and that the Ukrainians themselves did not want to do. They have been unable to find any exculpatory evidence for the president, and so are stuck pulling these stunts, which, even though they seem juvenile, are actually really undermining our national security.
And Ned, we've had more than 24 hours for them to find something in William Taylor's deposition that Republicans want to emphasize or make public. And William Taylor, at this point, based on what we've been able to glean from what's happened in these depositions, seems to be by far the most valuable, most important witness to have testified so far.
It sure seems that way from what we know so far, Lawrence. Look, I don't think William Taylor's testimony yesterday really changed the contours of this scandal, but he did add to the scope and to the scale of this scandal, and I think most importantly, connected it directly to the president. There were a lot of damning elements of his testimony and that we read in his prepared remarks, but I think none more so than the fact that President Trump himself directed Gordon Sondland, his ambassador to the European Union, to relay these demands to the Ukrainians. And there was no subtlety in doing this. This was not sort of a cloak and dagger operation where it was subtly whispered to into the Ukrainian ear that maybe they should think about this investigation if maybe they wanted their aid. No, Gordon Sondland then went to the Ukrainian president and said, here's the deal. You undertake these investigations or else we're going to have, as he put it, a stalemate. He didn't say the words quid pro quo, but he said that there would be a stalemate and intimated the Ukrainians would not be receiving their aid. That is the heart of this scandal. There's no getting around that. And that is precisely why I think you haven't heard anything from the Republicans from what they heard yesterday.
Ned Price, Mika Ouyang, and Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you all for starting us off tonight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.